What a day. What a day. Okay. Ah, we're live. Um, Hello from Atlanta. There is a huge storm right outside my window. So if for some reason I disappear or the live stream abruptly ends, it's not on purpose. It's just because maybe the lightning and thunder hit the power, knocked us off the Wi-Fi. Also, this is not the original live stream link that I wanted to use. It looks like YouTube changed their live stream settings since I last did a live stream 3 weeks ago. So I scheduled this one in advance. I sent out the link to about 10,000 people. People signed up to join me at that link. And then I clicked to go live, and like all the settings had changed. So here I am doing it the old school way on Zoom live into YouTube. If you're here, please say hello in the chat. I am so glad you're here because you can see I'm super frazzled. All right, well, let's get to work. I have got some really yummy snacks. I this is like my hotel room that I'm in right now. They have a gas station across the street with some like sour watermelon slushy. Pretty sour, but pretty good. Okay, let's get into I'm going to share my screen with you and I'll show you what we're working on today that I've kind of halfway started, but I am nowhere near finishing. And that's the point of this live stream, is to figure it out. And then if I figure out anything good, worthy of like being shared even further, then at some point I'll make like a little 5-minute recap video and be like, hey, here's some cool options or something. But this is purely like a work session. We'll see if Anne's brain, after 8 hours of travel from Florida to Atlanta and the storm and everything and the flight delays, we'll see what I can figure out. It's very casual around here, as you can tell. Okay, so I'm going to be going until about 5:15 because I have dinner with my client that I'm here to see at 5:30. So you can see the time on my clock. I've got a good hour to play around with this. Should be a good amount of time. Like I said, if I suddenly cut out, it's just because there's a storm. What can you do? I'm going to show you the data set that is pretend, but inspired by actually two real projects that I've been working on recently. One that I saw last Friday, and then one that I saw yesterday. And I was like, what a funny coincidence that two different groups I'm working with have this same type of scale. And this is not like on the clock. I'm not billing them for this. I was literally like on Zoom brainstorming with them, looking at their data set, and I could visualize some graph ideas in my mind. And I said, like, hey, is it okay if I make up a pretend version of your data set and then I go like play around with it on a YouTube live and like see what I can create? And then we can huddle back and we'll see if any of these things make sense. So if you have any type of scaled survey data, I think this will be a useful session for you too. Virtually every organization I work with has some type of scaled data. Okay, the goal for both of these different organizations that I'm working with is more than just black and white tables, of course. Like they think data viz is cool. I bet you do too. So we're trying to think of some cool data viz ideas. Both of these groups are going to put these graphs into a traditional style report, like a Word document. That would be 10 or 20 pages total. We can have appendices at the end, but it's definitely going to be Word. It's definitely going to be portrait. It's definitely going to have 1-inch margins because like the graphs that I will be making for them with their real data, it's like one piece of a much bigger study, a bigger project. And then even though I am more technical on this and my clients are more technical, their reports are going to a more non-technical audience. So we're not trying to go into the weeds with 50 million decimal places. We're trying to keep it like high level, focused on big picture findings, like many of the projects that I work on. All right, let me minimize this little thing and let's see. Um, hide the meeting controls. Cool. So those are the notes. Those are the disclaimers. Here's the pretend data set. So, both the real data sets look more or less like this, where we had, survey ID numbers that the survey tool automatically creates for us, pretty standard. And I'm pretending that these survey results are about 5 different hospitals in 5 different countries. In real life, both the groups I'm working with are looking at different countries too. They're both like international level groups. So that's the same. It's not these countries. It's not hospitals, but you get the idea. And then you can see I totally ran out of creativity when I was like making up the survey questions. I was gonna just call it like question 1, question 2, but we've got some lorem ipsum surveys here. And then I used rand between to make up numbers between 1 and 6 because that's what their real data sets look like when they do an export from their survey tool. It gives them 1 through 6. And I think one was strong. These are not the scales I made up. These are like their real scales. 1 means strongly disagree, 2 means disagree, etc. Okay, it's a definitely 6-point scale. So these are all 1 through 6. I made up some blanks for us. And then I think yesterday afternoon, I already started turning these into words with good old lookups. If you have questions about lookups, let me know. I can give you a quick lesson here, but I also have a whole lookup bootcamp that really, really teaches this in depth, but it's basically looking at the original data in black, the raw data, and then it's heading over here to the lookup table. And if it finds a 1, it turns that into strongly disagree. And if it finds a 2, it turns that into disagree, etc. Yeah, just because I wanted the words to show up in the graphs, not the numbers. Okay, so here's the data set. You know, what is it? 6, 7, 8 pretend questions, either numbers or words, and some lookup tables I already made. And this is basically what the group had been doing before. Okay, what they had been doing is averaging the 1 through 6 responses. So like imagine this is like survey question 1, survey question 2, and then they had their things that they were comparing, their entities, their locations across the top. And I just did some average ifs in here. I do not like using averages on scaled data. I don't think I have enough mental energy after a long travel day. But let me get some mental energy. Let me try it. Okay. There's no caffeine in here, but we'll pretend. Okay. The idea is there are different types of scales. This is like what you learn in every single high school stats class, undergrad stats class, definitely graduate school stats classes. Like I learned about this 10 different times in the 10 different classes. Nominal, noir, nominal, ordinal, not original, ordinal, interval, ratio, NOIR are the types of scales. And depending on what type of scale your variable is, that determines the types of calculations you can do or not. So a nominal scale is categories like racial and ethnic groups. You can't average that. Behind the scenes, your survey monkey or your survey tool might spit out like 1 means Black or African American, and 2 means Asian or Asian Pacific Islander. Like it might store the data as numbers, but you wouldn't say like, of all the people who answered our survey, the average race was a 3.72. Like that doesn't make any sense. So what you do for there is you do frequencies, just meaning like how many Black people, how many Asian people, or whatever the categories are. Ordinal is actually what we have here. These are ordinal scales. These are all ordinal scales. They look like numbers, but they're not. Ordinal is when the data has a natural order, either diverging, like different sides of the fence, different poles, like we have here, or just like a least to greatest in order. Think of like arrows going either outward or in one direction, but the spaces between each of those little categories, it's different. It's like one gap might be here, and one gap is like this big, and one gap's here. Even if they're stored as numbers, they're not numbers. So you do frequencies on these. I am like greatly, oops, wrong link. I am super, super, super summarizing what was like a whole 1 hour grad school lecture. But the idea is these are ordinal variables, so all you do is frequencies. You don't do averages. If you have interval data, then like ages, 35, 36, 37, 38, they go in order, but also the gap between them is 365 days. It's like 1 year between each of those ages and numbers. If you have those, then you can do descriptives, which is a fancy way of saying like averages and related things. Descriptives. And same one here. Okay. So long story short, we have ordinal. So we are doing frequencies, meaning how many agrees, how many disagrees. We do not have interval, so we are not doing averages. Some people think, oh, it's a number you can average everything. That I'm not in that camp. I'm not in that camp. I'm on the like old school stats, like do stats for real, do stats like correctly camp. If you disagree, reach out. We can like talk about this over coffee or a beer some other day at a conference or something. All right. So I wasn't going to let the groups keep a black and white table. They didn't want to keep a black and white table either. But I'm trying to convince them not to do averages because plus averages in general, even if these were interval variables, averages are only one piece of the story. In my notebook, I have so many like draft blog posts and draft YouTube videos about like, don't do averages. It's just surface level. Do things like mins and maxes. Anyway, that's a stream for another day. So the other day I started doing some brainstorming. I think, how far did I get? What I want to do is have like a dozen ideas between now and like 5:15. That's the goal, or at least five ideas, right? So idea one would be like a better table, potentially with some map icons. And I want to link the map icons to a little drop down so that in their report, they could, maybe have like an overall table, but also have a table for each of their like hospital locations. I think that'd be really cool. Let me make some notes to myself about this one. Table with map icons, and it would be the small multiples disaggregated. I guess not technically small multiples, one at a time. I am having a heck of a time typing today. By country, heat map, too, probably. And then I think the really cool part of this would be maybe using the image function to dynamically connect the map images or use the GeoBats font. I really want to keep a table. So sometimes in these live streams, I spend like 10, 20 minutes of brain power on idea one, which is always the most similar to what they have. So I can like work the clients up kind of step by step, show them something that's pretty comfortable. And then I show them something a little bit different. And then I show them something a little bit different. And sometimes I spend too much time on what's not going to be the winning design anyway. So let me just leave this like that. And if it seems worthy of coming back to, maybe we'll come back to it, but probably not. Okay, that is idea one. How far did I get? This is technically idea two now. Idea two is like good old stacked bars that I started the other day that aren't loading correct. There we go. Stacked bars are like the common choice with things like this, but they're not the only choice. Some tricky things about this, especially with a 6-point scale, is adding labels would get really tricky. Some of the slivers are going to be so small. It's so much going on. It's like, where's the key pattern? I don't love these. Okay. Don't love them. So that brings us to ideas 3 and onwards. What is going to be idea 3? I think idea 3 is collapsed stacked bars. Yeah. Meaning lump all the agrees and disagrees together so that you can see, the divider line. I'm going to need a new table for this. So let's grab this one. And I wonder if I can copy paste. Did I do any good formulas in here that would make it copy pasteable? What do I have in here? I have count ifs. I feel like I was going to do this with pivot tables, but I didn't because why not? Oh, because I want to be able to put all the columns, all the questions together in a graph. Pivot tables would have looked at just this question and therefore just one graph at a time. So, okay, that's why I have formulas in here. Did these formulas carry over? I'm looking at the lorem ipsum blah, blah, blah column. And only if the drop down here says strongly agree, and only if the hospital location matches this. Okay. So far, so good. Instead of this going to B10, let's have this go to B56. Should we? No, it doesn't. Does it matter? No, this doesn't even have to be. I don't have to redo this table. Let's just do agrees and disagrees this way. And yeah, let's do like this. Okay, let's just do a basic sum. Some people ask me, they're like, do you prep for these live streams? Clearly not. That's why I just figure it out as I go. This is gonna be where are all my disagrees? Let's collapse these. Whoops, these. And do a little tap tap. Who's messaging me? I want to make sure it's not my client saying something change with dinner plans. Okay, we're good. Great. I've got my agrees. I've got my disagrees. Let's graph this one. Maybe I can copy paste my graph so I don't have to start from scratch. That's always a nice time saver. Let's see how much of this copies and pastes over. Right click, select data, not the original table, but this one. And I feel like all the colors are going to change. They sure did. Okay. What color was I using for agree? Blue, disagree, red. Okay. Agrees are going to be in a blue. In real life, this would be in the client's colors, but I'm using Anne Emery's Depict Data Studio colors for now. Outline so that you can see them apart. Where would did I have a legend on this one? Oh, I didn't even have the legend yet. Oops. Or some words up top. Oh, well, that's not the winning design. Who cares about that one? Where is my little green plus sign? Here you are. You know what? I'm going to directly label these. Let me follow my own best practices. And there's space to add labels. Oh, I don't want it to be percents, do I? I don't think I want it to be percents. I want it to be numbers because these are all such small numbers. They're all less than 100, aren't they? Yeah. Oh, no, maybe the biggest one. No, I take that back. I tried to make up ends that were similar to what these groups had in real life, kind of a variety, but they were all, yeah, smallish to only a couple hundred survey respondents. Do I want to show the percentage? Yeah, I'll show the percentages. But I need to show, I don't just want to show percentages here. I want the labels to be percentages. Okay. Let's do let's just do it over here. Total. Notice I'm purposefully avoiding these. I'm only doing the valid total. That's the total. The valid total is this out of everybody who answered. Because oops, what did I just do? All the details like this, that belongs in tables in the appendices. Valid total is that. Okay, total versus valid total. I'm doing the valid total because this is a non-technical audience and who cares if like a handful of people skipped a question? It just doesn't matter. It's just distracting. Um, you know what? Let's just save us some time. Let's just grab these guys, zoom them over here. And I'm going to do this divided by the valid total and lock you and percent you. Great. And this is divided by that. Lock percent. Let me make sure these add up. Always a good idea. That's better. Great. And these are going to be, why is this in font size 18? Oh, because one group needed also some slides. I think that's why I brainstormed it big. Let's make it for a Word doc. Portrait, 1 inch margins, means graphs. We have 6.5 inches wide. Okay, great. The survey questions in real life were quite smallish, so that's going to fit nicely. Something like that. Does that look like the right spacing? Okay. Let me adjust this one too. About that height. Still haven't added a legend. I will. I will. By the time I'm done. Okay. Did I not just turn these white? I thought I did. And then this one is gonna have, what do I call this? Agrees? Series or category? Let's see. Which one of these? My computer's not letting me click. Let's try again. Oh, because I'm clicked up there somehow. Okay. Format, data label, series. Yeah, let's do new line. Think that's a little better. Yeah. Should we put these inside should we put them all centered or inside the end? Let's put them all inside the end, maybe. Would these all be not bold? No, that's terrible. That's terrible. Let's put these inside the end. And then like the chart title and then subtitle would say something like agree means all these 3 agree things. And disagree means all the, all that disclaimer stuff can go elsewhere. Okay, let's do this on a new line. Like that. That. That looks funny, all being right aligned. Do we left align at all? Do we keep it centered? Maybe we're going to keep it centered. This isn't the winning design anyway. Who cares? Who cares about this one? It's a little bit more big picture though. I feel like the client would like where we're headed with this. Okay, so that is what collapse means. Let's do diverging. That's the one I really wanted to get to. And some type of icon array, little dots. Maybe not, because these are bigger ends than that. Huh. Well, let's just try diverging. And then maybe I'll call it a day. Maybe I'll say that's enough for my brain for one day. Okay. Diverging stacked bars. How do we have to set up our table for that? We're going to need to have some buffer space on each side. Yeah. Let's do this table basically. This is going to be helpers. This is a little helper. This is our left helper. What a sweet helper. We're not going to have the NAs in there. Let's have our right helper. Okay. And this is going to be out of the valid total. What is the biggest number in here? Let's see. Actually, you know what I need to know is what's the biggest number here? 18, 21, 26. Oh, but you know what? This is going to get, it's going to depend on which country you have selected. I will do this in percents. Let's do it in percents. Strongly agree, divided by valid total. Lock. Percent. Okay. What's like the biggest percent? I don't know. I don't want to go through all the countries and see. Let's just start with a 1. 1 minus the sum of that. that is going to be very, very, very light. Maybe like that color in the graph. 1 minus the sum of these. That in the graph is also going to be super duper light. And then these are going to be my blueies. Those are going to be my reddies. Yeah, okay. I'm trying to color code this, not for myself, but for you. For you. Help you a little bit, right? Okay. Highlight the whole thing. Insert a stack. Switch row column. How are we looking? Do I want this one or do I want this one? That's fine. Okay. Make it bigger so we can see it. Delete that. We'll add it back later. Delete that. Delete that. Ooh, we should put a dividing line and arrows. We should. Okay. Delete that. Remove the ugly line. Make the bars bigger. AKA make the gap between them smaller. This is, guess what? It's helper space, buffer space. That's going to be either white or super duper light gray or no fill. Doesn't matter. Let's do white. Same thing over here, white. I think those are way too big of white space. What is our biggest number? Is it maybe 0.75? To go through these and check. Okay, that is strongly agree. That is going to be a dark with a white. That's going to be a medium white. That's going to be a light white. Let's go to this diverging end. That's going to be a dark white, medium white, light white. How much buffer space do we need? Okay, for pretend China data, is there not? Yeah, it could be smaller. What about this side? We're okay, it could be smaller there, like a 0.6. What about for Ghana? What's the situation here? Does everything fit? This one is 77. No, that doesn't work. Okay. No, goes out to 81. So we need to have at least to 81 on that side. Okay, what about pretend numbers for Norway? How's Norway doing? Nope, we need that bigger. Okay, need at least 0.67. Good. What about Peru? We're good on Peru. What about US? We're good on US. Okay, I'm just trying to see how much like white space we need on each side. Okay. There's not going to be space to label these. That's not the point of this chart. The point is to see like how many people on each side as a whole. Do we want to put a line down the middle? That gets kind of ugly. I see people do like a thick black line down the middle. It's like, geez, it gets so ugly. How about arrows on the top? Could that be a little bit better? I think the client is going to want this collapsed. That's the one I'm going to make next. But let me format this ever so slightly for us too. Because maybe if you haven't seen a diverging chart before, maybe I can sell you on it. Maybe you'll just open your eyes and be like, oh, that's a cool one. That makes sense. Why is my trackpad not working today? There we go. Okay. Maybe make that like that wide. That's going to be that color. And it needs to be flat. Make another one. We're going to rotate this one or flip. No, flip. It's going to be there. It's going to be blue. No, not that color. Blue. These are going to be aligned and grouped. Should we put obviously the words? I'm thinking we might want to put the percentages of the like total agree, disagree, end. Yeah, let's do that. Chart labels. My arrow keys aren't working on my keyboard either. What's going on? I'm teaching a workshop tomorrow. I'm gonna have to be Googling how to fix all this. Okay, chart labels. Left, the agree side. I'm just labeling this for future and. This is the disagree side. And then I'll make this file available to download at some point in the future too. Okay, this is gonna be basically the sums I just did. Those. I think this would be really helpful for the graph. Don't you think? It's basically the collapsed info. Okay, we're gonna grab all those percentages and we're gonna feed them in here. Okay, so let's add labels here and then click on them, right click, format, value from cells, and we want the helpers we just made to show up, not the other helpers. Those are going to be inside the end, and those will be blue. And now I'm going to need more actually white space. That's okay. I can go back in and add white space. And I'm going to add some label that says like, that's the total of the agrees versus disagrees. Let's do it again over here. We're going to add the labels, which by default are this bumper space, the helper space. Click on them, right click, format, value from cells, one of Anne Emery's favorite buttons in Excel. Click on the little helpers off to the side, undo the regular ones inside the base, not blue, but red. Okay. How are we going to label this so that somebody who didn't make this or somebody who doesn't stare at graphs for a living can understand it? We're going to need we're going to need some words over here. That one too light? I feel like that's too light. That one? Is that one too light? Maybe that one? Is that better? Yeah, I think let's make more white space on the side. What do we have right now? 0.67. Let's like bump it up to 8. And then what do we have on this side? 0.8. Let's bump that up to 0.9. We need more space for the labels. Okay, yes. I don't want that too smushy, right? Maybe that doesn't need that much more space. I wish this wasn't a portrait Word document. I wish it was a landscape slide, because imagine if we had like 11 inches of width to play with for the graph. It'd be so much easier than trying to smush it in here. The words are taking up so much space. Maybe I should force some line breaks here. The graph needs more width to make my life easier. Can I make it go like that? No. Let's force some line breaks. Let's do this one here. Alt enter. Let's do here. Alt enter. Ugh. Let's do here. Alt enter. Those are all blah, 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 blah. Terrible looking. Oh my gosh. Let me cheat. Let me show you what I have been doing lately to deal with this. Okay. This one, I'm going to make them all right aligned. 1, 2, 3. Let's guess. Ooh, that was a pretty good guess. Let's do 4. Oh, this is the like, I hate that I'm doing this live, but this is how I do it lately. 4. Okay. Ooh, that looks nice. That one looks nice. That one looks nice. This one, the Vera, whatchamacallit, that's gonna bump over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Guess. Let's see. How are you looking? Pretty good. Okay, what about this one? The masa one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's see. Oh, it looks good. Okay, and then this one I'm going to bump over. This one needs to be 3 lines, I think. Yeah, I think it needs to be 3 lines. Okay, I think this one's one too many. Lorem ipsum dolor, blah, 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 blah. This one, this one? Ooh, I don't want the dot, dot, dot. I can make this taller. Go away, dot, dot, dot. Go away, dot, dot, dot. Go away. I want to see everything. Do I need to make it way taller? Yes. Okay. That's okay. I can make the graph taller. I just can't make it any wider. And now let's make these aligned as well. Okay. Lorem ipsum, you are going to go over. We're going to line you up right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 8, maybe? Is that better? And then this one, go over however many spaces this is. I think if it's lined up in this box, it should be lined up in the graph. No, it's not. Okay. Is that better? That's better. Yeah? Okay. These are the agrees. They're gonna be lined up like that way. I'm gonna have more words up there. These get to be a little wider. Let's do about like that. Oops. Should agree go in the top or the arrows go in the top? I don't know. TBD. The devil's in the details with a lot of graphing. You really have to get the details right or else it looks terrible. So let's try to get all these details right. This is not going to be the winning design. I think the client is going to pick the one after this. I would pick the one after this if I were them. It's going to be better. But this kind of shows like just doing this procession of ideas usually gets people to the final end. Like it helps sell them on the end result. Then they're like, oh yeah, duh. Like if you show them a black and white table and then a graph that they don't see every day, like a diverging chart that's also collapsed or an icon array, it's too big of a difference. So you kind of have to work them up and be like, oh, like I started with the table, but then I tried this. And then I tried this. And like it helps them get on board with like graphs existing better. All this spacing is awful. Where am I gonna put where am I gonna explain what these percentages are? How come when I move this arrow, my text boxes move? Or they just look like they're moving? Okay. Um, maybe under here? Ooh, it's gonna be so easy to make the next one. I have an idea to save me so many clicks. We'll see if it works. Okay. Um, this is gonna say like percent selecting strongly agree, agree, or slightly agree. And this is not the star of the show because we have way too much color already going on and way too much bolding. This is going to be like a regular, unbold, maybe even italics. And it's going to be like maybe even smaller, which I almost never do, but it's just not that, it's just not that, it's important, but it's like, it's not the star of the show important. How is that looking? I think this needs to be wider. Those are going to be over here. We're going to have to shorten that. Okay, that works. If I look like I'm going like this a lot, it's because I can't see on my little laptop screen. I honestly think I need close-up glasses. I'm almost 40. I think it's time. I've had contacts for distance since elementary school, or glasses or contacts since then. I think I need the readers or whatever you call them. I'm just so used to being on a big monitor. Now I'm on this little monitor. I'm like, where are the numbers? Strongly disagree. I feel like this little wording that I'm adding right here, I think it's going to make the technical people happy just to have all the specificity in there. I think it's like a good way to like kind of go big picture with the graph, not get too in the weeds with the graph. Are these aligned? Now I have to lean way back and see. Like I've been staring at the details. Now I'm like, where's the forest? Is the forest doing okay? Let's see. What would this look like in Word? Let's take a peek. Again, not the winning design, but getting closer to it, I think. Let's match the themes from Excel and Word. Move all this Copilot out of the way. I don't know. How do I make this go away? Close it. Go away. Um, go away. Design, colors. It is the depict colors. Are we in depict fonts? Oh yeah. Okay, that's good. So, oh, I forgot to let's try it. Let's see if everything's dynamic. So we can have 5 of these for like 5 different reports. That one's looking good. What I'm looking for is like, is anything cut off? Is there not enough white space? Did anything not update correctly? How's this one doing? Ooh, that one's too smushed. See what I mean? Too smushy. Okay, so it means we need more white space on this side, which I can add. We need a bigger helper. Let's do a one helper. Is that gonna help? Is our bigger helper gonna help? I'm gonna change it a little bit. Yeah, yeah, that's looking good. Okay, let's see the next one. Anything looking terrible? Yeah, that's a little too close for my liking. That's a little too smushy. Okay, so we're gonna add a little bit more helper space right here. Let's go up to like yeah, let's do like a 85. Okay, yeah, that's close, but passes. That passes the Anna Emery standard. Peru, how's Peru doing? It's good. I feel like these graphs are too tall. They need to be wider. I gotta convince this client to not do a portrait Word document. They gotta do a landscape. Portrait just is awful unless you're printing it. But if somebody's reading the PDF on their computer's this way. You know how much better this whole thing would look if it was like wider? Okay. Peru looks okay though. US looks okay. Yeah, okay. Let's see what it looks like in Word. Is the whole thing still 6.5? Yeah. I can't like click on anything. I think my trackpad's going. My eyes are going and my trackpad's going. Can I do a five? Is this going to mess up all the careful spacing I just did? No, it's not terrible. The bars are just too tall. Um, I want to move this down. Now that's cut off. Dang you, the long one. Like that? Does that help? No, of course not. Of course it doesn't help. Oh wait. Oh, there it is. Okay. The R's are not lined up. That's killing me. Let's fix it. That one's one too many spaces. That one needs another space. Lorem ipsum dolor, blah, 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 consec, blah, blah, blah. Is that better? I think that looks good. That one looks maybe too far. Okay, let's see what it looks like in Word. Copy, paste. Think it's looking good. What is not lined up now? Are these not lined up? Whenever I copy paste from one program to the other, I notice different things, different nitpicky things. It looks like my arrows are not lined up with the midway. Okay. And remember how I said I hate when people do the big fat black line down the middle? I'm gonna do a fat white line. Does that look better? Okay, let's do a fat white line. And then I'm gonna quickly make the other one, and then I'm gonna call it a day because I need to put on jeans and a sweater to go to dinner with my fancy, very nice, very fancy people. Okay, this is what not to do on diverging charts. This is total ugh. Um, this is what I see every single day of my life. People say, I know, Anne, I'm gonna make it thicker. It's like, why is it that thick? That's not the star of the show. Okay. It doesn't get to be like that. It messes up the pre-attentive attributes. Okay. But just because we're not going to do a thick black one doesn't mean we can't do a thick white one and just exaggerate the gap ever so slightly, right? So you can see that middle line a little bit more. Let's actually extend this up. I want to make sure these arrows are aligned in the middle like that. Okay. Yeah, that's better. Is that not better? I think that's better. Um, where is my line? Is it still straight? No, it's not. That has to say 0. Okay, there we go. This, and I move these words, line them up with the arrow. Can I just make the arrow wider? I think the arrow just needs to be a little wider. I feel like it keeps making itself smaller. I feel like I've widened this thing 5 times. Where is my midpoint? Oops, no, not that. Great. This this gap is too small in my opinion. These details, like I hate them, but they matter. Think that's looking good? Ooh, we should dynamically make the country icon appear at the top. I can do that so easily in Excel. I don't know how to make that automatically show up in Word though. I think this looks nice. Okay. Let's plug in my laptop and yeah, that's I think that's a nice looking diverging chart as far as diverging charts go. Have I been staring at this too long? Is it terrible? I think it's nice. Okay, let's do another one though. Let's do what option are we on? What idea? Idea four? Let's do idea five, which is just a little twist. You've kind of seen it already. Diverging stacked bars collapsed. And I am not even going to remake the graph. I'm going to do something so, I was going to say lazy. It's a work smart, not hard. Okay. Because every time you take an existing graph and you right click and you select data and you select like the new table that you want to connect it to, the colors change, the font changes. Like Excel doesn't keep it consistent. I don't know why. It's some weird, like, it's just one of those quirks that you got to get used to with Excel. So I don't want to remake this whole graph because I just spent 30 minutes or however long, like getting every text box in just the right spot. I'm not starting from scratch. So what we're going to do instead is look at this. Okay. We're just going to make these all blue. They're just all going to be blue, all blue. And then we're going to get rid of the white space in between them. We're going to do a no outline. And then they're just going to all look the same. They're just going to be it's just blue. Oops, where is it? No outline. No outline. No outline. Ta-da! Okay, I love that trick. Let's do the same thing on this side. It's going to be red, no outline. Red, no outline. Red, no outline. Ta-da! I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. That was fast. I thought that would take like 5 minutes. That's not. I think they're gonna pick this one. I think they're gonna like this the best because this is the one that takes all the details of the 6 point scale and it just like cuts to the chase, you know? Hmm. How could I add the country name and the country icon dynamically? Again, I know how to do that in Excel. What if I do it in Excel and then I make it as the whole image goes into Word so they can copy and paste it together? Does the image file still work in Excel? I had the image function. I had this. This is probably my favorite one, to be honest. I like the more detailed one. Let's do this one. Okay. Um, idea 4.5. What are we on? 6 with country. They're kind of like icons, identifying icons. So like when you have United States selected, it says United States and it shows the US icon. Is equals image still a formula? Yes. Do you still have to? I had it on like a beta testing thing maybe 2 years ago. I didn't know if it still existed or if it had been like phased out. Linked is disabled. Let's enable you. Does it still have to be from a HTML? Enable. Why is this not enabling? Enable. Yes. Trusted. Okay. This is gonna say the country icon would be, where would it go? I don't know. We'll resize these columns later. Okay, whatever country is selected up here in the dropdown, I want that to show up here. And then I want the icon to show up here. And then we're gonna adjust everything so that the all the sizing is correct because this doesn't need to be that big. But if I shrink it here, see how the whole graph is all blah, blah, blah. It's so annoying. Actually, let's just move all the graphs over. Move them out of column A because column A is about to get little. It's about to get smaller. Bump you over. Ugh. No, that one doesn't matter. Bump you. Have about 8 minutes till I really should change clothes. So that I'm outside at 5:30. This is gonna be, where is my image file? Where am I? Okay, I have map icons over here that I already made. I already made binary maps, like binary tables like this. Literally just filled in the country name and a one. That's enough to make a map in Excel. And then you just insert a map. And then I adjusted it so that it was uh just all like dark brand purple. And then I deleted this and I deleted this. And you can't get rid of the little source that it's made by Bing. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to make the map so big that this in comparison is going to be so small you don't even see it because I don't want to go to copyright jail. I don't want to get in trouble for like not having that. So do you see it's here. Just I made this map 10 inches wide. So it's so little, it's like you don't even see it. Okay, let's say I want to put in the US map. Um, I can I do it like I don't think I can just do it equals. No, because it's not like living in that cell. Can I do a what are my source options for this? Let's see. I think this has to be a HTML. I think I need to save these. This should be another live stream. I think I would save these, put them on my blog, direct it to the HTML. That's what I've done before. That's going to be a live stream for another day. Um, okay. Let's see where we got to. Um, idea one. Well, let's just look in here. It's going to put all these in Word, but they don't need to be in Word. Okay, 5:10, perfect time to do a recap. So to recap this live stream, I started with a data set that was a pretend data set, but inspired by a real client example with survey IDs, hospital locations in different countries, a bunch of survey questions on 6-point scales. I turned the numbers into words with some lookups. That's like a little 1 or 2 minute change once you know lookups. And then the before version was a table that had averages, good old average ifs. Okay, so it just took like that 6-point scale and it's like, there's this average and this average and this average. And for reasons that I'm not going to go into a second time, I'm not a fan of averaging scales because they are ordinal and therefore you can only do frequencies. How many strongly agrees? How many slightly agrees? And so on, not an average. So that's what I worked on the after version. Okay, so I started with just a table that's not formatted. It doesn't even have it's not formatted at all, but it's just the numbers. Okay, the numbers are filled in, and they're also dynamic because this client needed to make in real life 4, but in my pretend example 5, they wanted to make like different reports about each of these entities that are in the different countries. So we weren't looking at all the countries together, they were going in different reports. So I didn't want to do this like 4 or 5 different times. I wanted to do it once with the nice formulas where you select the country and then you're like, cool, like that's the data I need to copy paste into my Word doc. This table is mathematically correct in the way that I was trained with the frequencies, but other than that, it's like as boring as it can be. So that brings us to idea 2, stacked bars. There's no space, not exactly to add labels here. I mean, I guess you could like, if you really wanted to, you could add labels. They'd be so illegible. They would just be distracting. It would be so busy. Your eyes roll back in your head. Idea 3, collapsed stacked bars. So you combine the 3 agrees, you combine the 3 disagrees. It would look like this. That's a decent one. I think that's actually fairly nice. Idea 4, diverging stacked bars, which is not a native or built-in chart type in Excel. It's non-native, which means it needs some workarounds. And the workarounds are you have to add an extra column over here and over here that This cell plus these have to add up to the same number. Like all these have to add up to the same number. And I played around with a bunch of times in this live stream of like, what is that magic number here? And I settled on like a 85% on the left. Okay, so like this one and all these add up to 85%. And then on the right, these and this add up to 100%. It looks like this when you're done because you have invisible white space right here and invisible white space over here so that you have enough space for, all the labels that you need to add. Some things that I like about this one, maybe this is my favorite now. I like that the divergent colors are really clear. Like we've got two different sides of the fence, two different brand colors, darkest version on the poles to draw your eyes outward, kind of reinforce that divergence of the data, dark into light, dark into light. I didn't want to label all 6. That's way too in the weeds. So instead, I labeled the addition of like all these 3 together. So like these 3 together add to 55. These 3 together add to 45. I added text boxes. I added arrows. I made sure that this midpoint in these arrows was lined up here. I added more text boxes here and here. I added a thick white line down the middle, like literally just like that. And then I just checked a few times to make sure everything was still connected to the drop downs so that again, you make like one good template and then it fills in for you because who wants to make 5 of these? It took me long enough to make 1 of these. I'm not doing this 5 times. And then the one that I thought would be the winner, idea 5, for its simplicity. I don't know. I'll share these ideas with the client. It's for MF. If you're watching, you would know that. And we'll see. We'll see what they say. This one I made really quickly because it's literally the 3-parter, 3 on that side, 3 on this side. And I just made them all the same color and I removed the white outline between them so I didn't have to start from scratch with this graph. Time permitting, on some other rainy day, some other live stream where I have I knew when I flew from Orlando to Atlanta today, I was like, I bet I have a magic hour and a half from when I check into the hotel to when I have dinner. And I'm either going to scroll through TikTok and waste my time, or I'm going to do a live stream and help you and keep my brain fresh and my skills fresh. So on some other live stream someday, maybe tomorrow, probably not though. I want to figure out how to make the country shape, which I already have here, appear automatically there. I know how to do that with states because of the state face font. There is a GeoBats font that has country icons, but not every country is there. I'll see if the 5 pretend countries I made up here have a letter in the GeoBats font or not. Or I could turn these into image files and link them all together. I think, yeah, that's something to figure out for another day. I do have many projects though with country-based data that once I spent, an hour figuring that out once, I could selfishly use it over and over and over throughout my career. So there's definitely benefits to Anne Emery from doing live streams like this because it's I love solving these things and I get to share them with more people, use them for more client projects. Okay. That's it. 5:16 p.m. I'm gonna go get changed into jeans and a sweater, get ready for dinner. I'm teaching a class tomorrow with a foundation here in Atlanta. It's half kind of workshop time of different topics of spreadsheets that I've designed for them in advance. And then it's a day and a half of case studies and small group meetings. We're looking at their board book, which is a big packet that goes out before foundation board meetings. Virtually every foundation has that. We're looking at their annual report. We're doing these little work sessions together to brainstorm. It's only 7 or 8 people too, so it should be a really nice 2 days. I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, to be continued. See you later, friends. Bye.